Hurricane done struck Texas. Mm. It is now a tropical storm, but it has struck Texas. We have just begun hurricane season, and this is a tragedy because from what I can um, see and hear from the news reports, that there are millions of people without power. Millions of people are without power. And we already know the Texas grid, electrical grid, is shaky anyway. And I don't know what kind of, improvements they have done to the electrical grid, but, you know, there's a lot of people that are without power. A lot of people. And I can tell you, being without power is like the worst thing ever because you can't run your AC, you can't your food, your perishable food is going to go in a matter of days. Um Even if you have a cooler full of ice, that food is going to get very soggy at some point. It's hot, and you have like the elements to contend with. You have mosquitoes. Um, if you leave your window open, who's going to come in through the window? There's a lot. There's a lot. And I have been through these hurricanes, honey. I have been through hurricanes. And when the power goes out, it's no fun. No fun at all. So I'm going to stay on here for a little bit and just talk about, my experience going through a storm. It seems like Texas gets hit with storms more than Florida. It feels like that because I always say these storms, they go under Florida and then they'll go right over to the Texas coast. They'll go right over to the Texas coast. I'm going to mute for a second. Hello. Okay, so I am back. But yes, it's like these storms are just getting worse and worse. I don't know. My heart goes out to the people in Texas. You know, I have been through hurricanes myself, and I know, what it's like. I know what it's like to go through these storms, and a lot of times it seems like it's the storms that you don't think is going to do like a lot of damage, that do a lot of damage. Like you can have a category 2 storm come through and it could do less damage than a category 1. And I mean that because it seems like each storm has its own unique, let's see, I don't want to say personality, but it has its own unique like destruction. You may have some storms that are strictly windy storms. Then you may have some storms that just drop a lot of rain that flood. And then you may have some storms that have the rain and, the wind. So each storm has its own different makeup. And the people of Texas, it's like they have to, I don't know. My heart goes out to them because I've been through these hurricanes before, and this one seems to have dropped a lot of rain, and Houston is, they're on the dirty side of the storm. I don't know if you guys know this, but the northeast side of a storm is always the dirty side. It's always the side where you're going to get the most, you know, thunderstorms, you're going to get the most rain, the most wind. I don't, whenever a storm comes to Florida, I'm always just praying for the best and saying, please don't let us be on that northeast, quadrant of the storm, because if we are, oh man, we're going to get the super dirty side of it. So right now I'm hearing that Houston is out of power. They say there are millions of people without power, and I'm reading in the comments, on various videos that people are saying, just get our, power back on, get our power back on, and if we can have power, then we'll survive. I don't know if they're gonna, I don't know how quick they're gonna be able to get that power back on, but I'm sure the highways are filled with electrical companies that are headed towards Houston. A lot of times, when a storm is getting ready to hit my area, electrical companies are often already in place before the storm hits us. So it wouldn't surprise me one bit if there are already crews in place, on the outskirts of Houston, uh, just ready to go in and get their electricity back on once this storm moves through. And it's a dirty storm, guys. They said already 3 people have died. I don't even know if that many people even perished when it went through the lower Caribbean islands. I don't know if 3 people even passed away, but in the U.S., Beryl has claimed the lives of 3 people so far, and I suspect that with the power being out, there's going to be more lives lost. There are going to be more lives lost. So, we have to pray for the best for Houston and then all the other areas that are going to be affected, Arkansas and all of the rest of the areas, because they're going to get the tornadoes, they're going to get the very bad thunderstorms. So, let's think positive thoughts and stay in prayer for these people because they really need it. To be without power, oh, it's the worst. It's the worst, especially this time of year because it's so hot. As you know, hurricane season is from June 1st to November 30th. And I can tell you, the summer months, the power goes out, it's brutal. It is brutal. It is not a good thing at all, because your food perishes, you're hot. Um, it's just a sticky, sticky, hot situation. So again, I'm hearing reports that 3 people have perished so far from Hurricane Beryl. It is now a tropical storm, so I should say Tropical Storm Beryl, but 3 people have died so far, and there are millions without power in the state of Texas. And that is not a good thing. And I don't know how long it's going to take them to get the power back on. It's my understanding that Texas has its own, power grid. I'm sure that there are other electrical companies from other states that are there to assist. But I'm hoping that they can get the power back on, because that's the worst thing to be in, in a situation like that with no power. I mean, you got to look at it. There's no power. There's no AC. Your refrigerator's not running. Your freezer's not running. Nothing is running off the power grid, and that's a terrible situation to be in. But majority of the deaths, hurricanes usually don't happen with a hurricane going through. It's usually what happens after the hurricane, because people go outside and they want to start cleaning up, and there are down power lines, live power lines, or when the power lines come on, a lot of people get hurt, even from lifting debris. There's a lot that goes on with these storms. So I'm hearing that, again, 3 people have died so far, and millions are out of power. And that's no fun, guys. No fun at all. I'm hoping that they can get the power on as quickly as possible once the storm goes through. And I saw a video where there was a truck going through some very high water. I mean, I don't understand why people do the things that they do. Just no one should be out in that storm. No one should be outside doing anything. So I know they rescued the man, but it's really sad. It's a sad situation. It's a very sad situation. Houston, Texas. Mm. I mean, we're not even what? We're only 1 month in. We're 1 month in to hurricane season. Only 1 month, guys. And what do we have? 5 more to go? Let me see. We got June, July, August, September, October, November. Yeah, we have 5 more months of hurricane season to go. And already, right out of the gate, one major hurricane, which is Beryl, and they are going to retire the name Beryl, because if I'm not mistaken, any storm that is a category 3 or higher, or a major hurricane, they retire the name. So this name will be retired. So, according to the National Hurricane Center, it says here, consider your threats when, a hurricane comes through the area. And I'm just going to read what it says here about flooding, because right now that is what they're dealing with in Houston. They're dealing with a lot of flooding. So it says here that flooding from extreme amounts of rain a hurricane can bring has also proven to be very deadly, both over an extended period of time as well as very short term flash flooding. Homes and businesses could flood, and flooded roads could make travel and evacuations difficult, as well as being a potentially deadly hazard to those in vehicles or on foot. Floodwaters can also contain har- harmful bacteria, chemicals, wildlife, and other dangerous objects. Extreme rain from hurricanes can even flood areas that aren't normally prone to flooding. Flooding can happen hundreds of miles inland and can persist for several days after a storm. So, again, you want to be careful. I tell people all the time, just stay out of the water, stay out of the flood water. Do not go into any sort of water. And then it's like you see people on videos all the time, like especially down to South Florida, right? I see people just swimming through water whenever there's like a flooding, like in, let's say, downtown Miami. Um, you'll see people just out there just swimming through this water. And here, the National Hurricane Center is telling you that these floodwaters can contain harmful bacteria. So as you're out there, as people are out there swimming through this flood water, these harmful bacteria and chemicals are getting into their ear, their nose. They don't even care. I mean, they can also be swimming out there with all kind of water moccasins, all kind of snakes, and people just don't care. They do not care about anything. They think it's fun and games when it's flooding outside, and they don't understand that you can go out there and possibly get bit by a water moccasin. They don't care. So stay out of the flood waters. Texas is going to need a lot of help once it's all said and done, when this storm goes through, because those millions of people who have lost power, they're going to have to restore all of the food, replenish all of the food that they lost. So if their power is out, of course, the grocery store's power is out. There's a lot of food that's going to be lost. A lot of food. There's going to be a lot of hungry people in Texas. I am not, as a native Floridian, I am not looking forward to I'm not looking forward to hurricane season at all. I'm not. It's already really scary for me because I live on the coast of Florida. I live on the coast of South Florida, and this is already scary. I don't believe 1 minute that we are even prepared for a hurricane in Florida. And there are people that are still trying to recover from the last hurricane that we had. You know, homes still have blue tarps on them. And I know for some people that may be very surprising to hear, but with food prices being so high, everything being so high. It, People in Florida are not ready for a hurricane. We're not ready. And to see this, it's scary. We are 1 month into the season, only 1 month, and already we have this storm was a what? It was a category 5. So that name definitely is going to be retired. We will never see Hurricane Beryl again because they retire the names when they're, especially when they get to a category 5. So I can tell you right off the bat, I'm not ready. I'm not ready for any storm. And we already have downpours here in Florida. We just had, I think it was a week ago or 2 weeks ago, we had a lot of rain. A lot of rain. And it flooded in some areas. Now, can you imagine getting a hurricane? And especially, downtown Miami, downtown Fort Lauderdale. They're not ready. And a lot of these neighborhoods are not ready. Many of the neighborhoods are being flooded out just from regular rain. And I'm just trying to figure out, how are these streets being so flooded? Is it because of the drain? Are these storms dumping more rain? What is going on? Because I remember when I was a little girl, I don't remember the storms, causing floods like the way they're causing. I don't see where all of this flooding, you know, all of this rain is coming from. I don't know if it's global warming. I don't know if it's climate change. They want to say yes, it's climate change. The earth is heating up. You just Nowadays you just don't know what to believe. But what I do know is that we're not ready for a storm. Fort Lauderdale Airport was flooded out, and we didn't even have a hurricane. We're not ready. Yes. Well, it's a tropical storm now. It's not. It's no longer a hurricane. It's now a tropical storm. But we're not ready for any sort of tropical storm or hurricane in Florida. So yes, currently Beryl, it's been downgraded to a tropical storm. It is no longer a hurricane. So at this point, what it's going to do is just going to dissipate, and it's just going to drop a lot of rain, and tornadoes. There's going to be a lot of tornadoes in the area it goes going forward. So, but right now, I'm hearing that Texas is, millions of people don't have power. And that's a problem. That's a problem. Guys, this was a category 1 storm. Literally a category 1. How is Texas out of power? A category 1? Come on. This was a category 1 storm, and Texas is out of power. I don't know what to say. if this was a category 2 or a category 3, what would have happened? But this storm is just, it was just a category 1. And people are already out of power. I don't know what to say. I think, people need to put pressure, especially in Texas, on their local governments, because this was a Cat 1 storm. It wasn't even a Category 2, 3, 4, or 5 hitting Texas, and already there are millions of people without power. And Texas seems to go through something like this, I don't know what, twice a year? They go through it during hurricanes. Power goes out because what? They're on their own electrical grid, and then it goes out. It goes out, when there's a snowstorm. I mean, what's really happening over there in Texas? This was a Category 1 storm, and millions of people are without power. And I'm just hoping that they get the power on as quickly as possible, because this heat is not playing with anyone. And the elderly are the ones who are most affected, as well as, babies are most affected, you know by heat illness. And I'm just hoping that they can hurry up and get the power back on. People are going to lose a lot of food. This was only a Category 1 storm. Can you imagine a Category 2, 3, 4, or 5 hitting Texas? I can't even imagine it hitting Florida, because we're not ready. We are not ready. We're not ready. And what I want to see is, I want to see our government, you know, using resources to build the infrastructure. I want to see it. Only thing I see that they're doing, I see them in my area. I see them repairing roads. I see them expanding the roads, because we have a lot of people that are moving down to South Florida. I see them building a lot of buildings down here. But what I don't see where our bridges are being updated. I don't see where, oh, sorry. I don't see where repairs are being done on our electrical power lines. I don't see where they're cutting trees. I don't see it, guys. So I'm hoping that Houston, recovers from this storm, and they get the power back on as quickly as possible, because in the coming days, it's definitely going to be a nightmare. I can tell you from my own experience, being in a hurricane many, many, many times, um, the ice only goes so far. I would say you have max 3 days of usage before all of your food begins to go very soggy. It just water breaks down food. So we're going to start seeing some really bad things in Houston after 3 days if that power isn't back on. And like I said, this is a category 1 storm, or it was a category 1. Imagine a category 2, 3, 4, or 5 going through that area. We're just not ready. And I wish they can do something about these hurricanes as well. So yeah, we're definitely not ready here. We're definitely not ready. And it's like I don't I don't even have the energy to even try to get ready. And I know that's the weirdest thing to say, but I feel like if we get hit with a hurricane in Florida, it's going to take us a minute to get back on track. It's going to take us a minute. So it looks like this storm is going to be going through northern Louisiana, um, into Arkansas. Looks like it's going to brush past Memphis, Tennessee, and just going up north. But for now, what they're going to be dealing with is they're going to be dealing with a lot of rain and a lot of tornadoes, a lot of bad weather. And then they're also going to be dealing with the elements because millions of people are without power. And I'm hoping that folk had enough time to prepare for this storm. But it just seems like a category 1, people, they take it serious, but a category 1 can be worse than a category 2. It just depends on the nature of the storm. You have some storms that dump a lot of rain. There are some storms that are just a wind event. And, there are some storms that will produce a lot of flooding. So it looks like to me that Beryl dropped a lot of rain. There's a lot of flooding going on in Houston. They're telling people to stay off the roads. And I see video of people driving, trying to drive. And then they get stuck and need a rescue. You're putting, first responders' lives at risk when you don't obey, when you don't stay home. And let me do my message over because I can't spell. I am hoping for the best for Texas. I really am. Um, I wouldn't wish a hurricane on anyone or on any city, any state in this country. I don't like hurricanes. So let me see what else they're saying. No, that's another thing too. For these people who have food, when we were going through our hurricane or right before it, we cooked up a lot of our food. We cooked up a lot of our food and we put it in the cooler because one hurricane we didn't have power for a while. And I can't imagine the people in Texas, going through going through, all of this heat and just don't have not having any power. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. So I'm hoping that they can get the power back on as quickly as possible, especially for the elderly and especially for, people with, children. They're saying that they issued a heat advisory. So, and someone said in the comments on this news station, they said, they said, "Damn, no power today." No, you're not gonna have any power. You're not gonna have any power. Not until that storm passes and the winds calm down. I believe the winds have to be under a certain mile per hour in order for them to start the process of, trying to get the power back on. They're not going to send crews out there, when there's windy conditions. If I'm not mistaken, I think in my area they'll send crews out once the winds go down, I believe, to under 30 miles per hour, but don't quote me on that. But someone asked in this newscast, oh, so we're not going to have power today? No, more than likely not, you're going to have power, especially if the power lines are down. If there are trees that have toppled some of the power lines, no, definitely not going to have power today in some parts of Texas. Yeah, and someone else said Texas never prepared for these things. But every year it's the same thing with Texas. If if a hurricane is not bringing down their power, it's it's a snowstorm or it's cold weather. I think the people of Texas have to demand more from their government. It's every year is something with Texas in their power grid. And this is only a category 1. And some people said, well, this guy said that he has food and water, and that's good. You always want to be prepared. As long as you have something. There are some people that don't have food, they don't have water, and they don't even, they can't even go out and get it. Especially now, being that the power is out, there's just no way. Anytime we have a hurricane in my area, we'll fill up a couple of, the bathtubs with water just in case. But we have gallons of water on standby. They say you should have at least 1 gallon per person per day. I always advise people that do your stocking up before the hurricane comes. Don't be that person who just, you wait till the day before a hurricane is supposed to hit your area and then you decide you want to stock up. No, you shouldn't do it that way. You should stock up before the hurricane gets there. And don't stock up on things at full price. Wait until certain things go on sale. You don't have to go out and spend all of your money just to prepare for a hurricane season. What you can do is anytime you go out, you just grab a can or two of something and then you bring it back in. And I usually shop on BOGO. I shop BOGO all day long because I refuse to pay full price for anything. But yes, you always want to make sure you have food in your house anyway. Because you never know. You can wake up and something crazy has happened overnight. So make sure your home is already stocked with food anyway. So I'm reading here, someone said that they're telling us it's going to take a week before we get power. I mean, a week is in the heat. Yeah, that's gonna be pretty long. That's gonna be brutal. That is going to be brutal. And then someone said, if it was like the last few months, it'll be instead of 1 week without power, it'll be 2 or 3 weeks without power. You always have to just be prepared for that possibility of the power being out for an extended amount of time. I'm just surprised that there are so many people out of power, and this thing was only a category 1. That's a shocker for me. And you know what, guys? Let me tell you, a hurricane going through, just taking the power. You know what's the worst time after a hurricane is night. It's nighttime. I remember one year I was living in this apartment, and I forget which hurricane came through my area, but it knocked out the power. I don't know if you guys have ever been, through a hurricane, but that night and the nights after that were the most scariest times for me. Literally, you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. And just imagine you're just sitting there, and there's a store across the street, and in the darkness all you hear is nothing but glass breaking. And those were looters. It's the most scariest thing ever. So I don't know what's going to happen with Houston and their lights being out, the power being down. They're definitely going to have a curfew. They're definitely going to have a curfew because, people are just going to be up to shady stuff. And well, I've always heard don't mess with Texas. So I know that everyone is probably carrying a weapon in Texas. They say don't mess with Texas, don't mess with the people of Texas, and they have those. Yeah, is here. Yes, but they say don't mess with Texas. Texas have those people carry. I mean, they carry too here in Florida. We can't mess with Floridians either, but I always heard that don't mess with Texas. And I went to Texas one year, and I had a nice time in Texas. Went to the capital. I think one of the capitals, yeah, or the capital. But everything is big in Texas. I mean, ooh, I think one year, yeah, I went and they had the biggest honey buns. What? Oh, those honey buns were huge. But I want to go back to Texas because I want to eat the barbecue. I watch, videos on these different barbecue places where they have like brisket and then they have the ribs and then oh my god, the food looks so good. And see, and I'm not necessarily like a meat eater, but I'll be a meat eater any day in Texas. Oh my goodness. But I'm going to definitely, hopefully, one of these days or years, I will, I will make my way over to Texas. But it's definitely not a place I would want to move to. But there are a lot of people moving to Texas, especially like the Dallas and Houston area. Um, but I wouldn't want to move to Texas at all. And Texas has to get its act together with its power grid or its electrical grid because a million people should not be without power right now. And this was a category 1 storm. That's just ridiculous. I don't know who's running that power grid and how it's being maintained, but they definitely should not be without power, at least not for a whole week. But some people are saying it could be 2 to 3 weeks. That's utterly ridiculous. I think I'm okay with being without power for maybe 3 days. After that, oh my gosh, I probably would cry. There's no way I would want to be in the heat. And I think they said that there's a heat advisory going on in Texas as well. I mean, just here in South Florida, our temperatures are feeling like they're in the, 100s. That's crazy. We're hot here. So they're saying that the heat is driving a lot of these storms. That's how Beryl was able to become a category 5 storm because the heat that's coming off the ocean is very hot. And as you know, the heat will cause these storms to grow quickly. But I don't think that I don't know how many people may have died in the Caribbean, but the last I heard there was like one person. And already I'm hearing there are 3 people that have died so far in the US from Beryl. Let me look and see what else they're saying here. Someone said the heat is killing me. I hate the summer. I don't like the summer either. I definitely don't like the summer. Give me winter any day of the week, but I don't like the summer as well. I hate being hot, like super hot. And why is is in the comments talking about solar, like saying that solar is very expensive? That's crazy. I don't know why solar power is so expensive. They should make it affordable for people to get it, but I suspect, something a little bit more sinister is going on with that. They don't want people, to really use solar. Let me see if there's anybody else I can watch. It just amazes me to see video of people trying to drive, trying to drive in that weather. That's just unreal to me. I would not be caught out there in that storm trying to drive. I don't care where I have to go. So it says here that Hurricane Beryl made landfall in southeast Texas with heavy winds and rain. Oh, Hello? Okay. All right, so I'm back. Oh, oh my goodness. I didn't realize. Oh, well, it is what it is. I didn't realize I was out. Thank you, Dee Dee. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So, again, I think my main concern, the main concern for me is that this was a category one storm, and Texas has no, there are millions of people that don't have power. So that's really concerning for me. And I know back in, I believe it was 2021, there was a major snowstorm that caused a major power outage. So it's like Texas has had, what, 3 years to get this power grid, up to par. I mean, I know with windy conditions and with a lot of wind, power lines will go down. But to have millions of people without power, it's going to be a tough day, tough few days ahead for a lot of them. So in one of my videos, I did talk about the 5 categories of a hurricane. And I want to talk about category one because that's what Texas went through. They went through a category one storm. Now it's down to a tropical storm. So it says here that a category one has winds between 74 and 95 miles per hour. And it says here that there are going to be very dangerous winds that will produce some damage. And it says here well constructed frame homes could have damage to roof, shingles, vinyl sidings, and gutters. Large branches of trees will snap, and shallowly rooted trees may be toppled. Extensive damage to power lines and poles likely will result in power outages that could last a few to several days. Now, that's in a category one storm. And I'm hearing people say their power's going to be out more than likely a week or two. I'm hoping that's not the case because this was a category one storm. And I can tell you in Florida, yes, we do take hurricanes, very serious. But for us, I mean, native Floridians, a category one, we're like, okay, it's going to be, a little bit of a wind event. Now, we get scared when they're talking about a category three, definitely a four, And I don't even want to hear about a 5, because with a category 5, straw will go through brick. We were always taught that nothing really is going to survive a category 5. It'll flatten everything. So, and I've already said, if a category 4 is coming our way, I'm out of here. I will not be staying where I am. I will leave, and I'm going to go a different route from a lot of people. Hopefully, I won't get stuck and be in traffic, going 1 mile every hour. Whew, that happened to, some people I know. So I'm not staying here in a category 4, definitely not a 5. I will leave, and I'm on the coast. I'm right along the coast. It'll take me 5 to 10 minutes to get to the beach. So I will not stay. So if you want to hear more about the categories, just go on my site. There was one night I was up. I went through all of the categories, and I can tell you the highest category I have ever, lived through was a category 3. When Andrew hit, I was not in the state of Florida, but I do know it devastated Homestead. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was just a few miles per hour away from a 5. Definitely not staying in a 5. Not even in a 4. Like I said, I'll leave. When you get to a 5, I mean, that's a major wind event. I don't even think you can even breathe properly through a category 5. Wind is just moving at, it says here, 157 miles per hour. I think that'll take anyone's breath away. I appreciate you guys coming on and listening to me babble away. If you don't mind, please tell me what state you are from as you come into the chat. I would really like to know. I do know, I shouldn't say state, I should say country, because Dee Dee is from the Netherlands. So tell me what country you're from, and if you're in the US, tell me which state you're from if you don't mind. I was talking about going through a hurricane at night the other day. I'm telling you, I would rather a hurricane come through my area in the daytime rather at night, because it's spooky. It's very scary. When I remember we had a hurricane, and I literally thought, what is it called? Is it CSX? The train company? I thought they were going through my area, and I found out it was a tornado. It was a tornado. And I've heard that before. People have said, if you hear a like a train or train horn, that's a tornado. if it's, you're going through a bad storm. He's saying, I can't imagine it. And one is worse than anything we have here. We have floods. Oh, floods. Yeah. We're, we're having problems with flooding in certain areas now. And I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's due to climate change. I don't know if there are a lot, that these, I don't know if these storms are just dropping a lot of rain now, but we have major floods in our area. But usually, usually the area is not flooded for more than about 2 days, 3 days. I'm gonna get a cough drop. Give me 1 second. Okay, I'm back. So let me see what else people are saying in these comments. Oh, they're talking about cleaning up now. Our system fails in the bathroom. Really? Our system fails. Wow. Well, I hope it doesn't fail at all. Mm, that's scary. Someone wrote, I went 2 weeks without power in Florida. Didn't even have a fan. So hot, almost died of a heat stroke. I don't think people understand this heat. Heat will kill. Heat will kill, especially if you're not hydrated. Um, it will. And it can get super hot here in Florida. I mean, I can't say that we get as hot, as Texas, but we can get hot. Definitely. Let's see what Dee said. I came after the great flood of 53, but we helped New Orleans with their system after. Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting. Well, thank you for help. I mean, that's awesome. I'm telling you, we all can learn something from each other. There are just, some countries that really know how to, handle a lot of water. They know how to help areas. Definitely. We all can learn something from each other. That's excellent. I love New Orleans, by the way. Oh, I mean, I'm hoping to take a trip there really soon. It more than likely won't be during hurricane season, but I love New Orleans. I love the food. Oh, the food is delicious, and the people, and I love their accent. Oh man, oh, I know a New Orleans accent, like the back of my hand. I love to hear them speak. Oh, it's just, oh, it's like just music to my ears. But thank you. That's awesome that you all, were able to help New Orleans, because I do know they sit below sea level, if I'm not mistaken. It's almost like they sit at the bottom of a bowl. So yeah, and there's a lot of levees in New Orleans. Oh, yes. Okay. We will not be free without you all. Like, oh yes. Oh yes. Well, I don't know that much about the Netherlands, but I will definitely do a little bit of research. I don't know much about the Netherlands. Let me see if I can see something really brief. Oh, you guys are like near Amsterdam. Okay, so Europe, I see your flag. Okay, Dutch is the official language. Let me see, what else can I see? Okay, so you're near Germany, Belgium. Huh. Interesting. So they're showing wow, they're showing parts of Woodland Heights, and a lot of the water is up to 7 feet. Oh, that's much, much, much taller than me. I would never survive. People are saying, okay, Beryl can go on now. Yeah, it sure can. It's done its damage. We were liberated by Americans, English, Canadian, Polish troops. We're known for our waterworks. Oh, like the Delta Works. Huh. Let's see. Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, it's gonna take a long time for that water to recede. That, I mean, 7 feet. Ooh. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so they're saying that the storm is going to rapidly move out. And that usually happens when, when a hurricane makes landfall, it usually just quickly moves on. Um, so there's a lot of rain that's happening in, it says Corrigan, Jasper, Crockett, and all of those areas. And it's going to be tough for a lot of people overnight because they're going to get some wicked thunderstorms and tornadoes from, Beryl moving on. So some of these areas, they're going to still be experiencing high winds. Woodville, they're saying it's going to, the winds are going to be at 40 miles per hour. So yeah, there are going to be a lot of places still experiencing a lot of wind. There's a lot of wind in these individual, cells in these individual um storms. Like, just looking at these storms, it's like you wouldn't think there's a lot of wind in them, but there is a lot of wind individually. So, but anyway, guys, I have been on, guys and gals, I have been on for about 95 minutes now. Um, I appreciate you all hanging out with me, coming in just to see what I have to talk about. I'm hoping that Beryl is not an indication of what's to come. I'm hoping that this was just a one-off thing, but we shall see. We have until what, November 30th, to go through hurricane season. And I'm just hoping, and I'm just going to hope for the best, that this was really just, like a one off storm. Yes, thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. So, guys, with that being said, have a wonderful, wonderful day. Rest of your day. Thank you. Bye bye.